Again, good Yontif, Chag Sameach. It is easy to be a doomsayer when the walls of civilization start crumbling. But issuing dire warnings before anyone else has even noticed the cracks forming is a much more difficult trick, one that takes foresight and confidence. And sounding the alarm bells using sophisticated rhymes set to unforgettable melodies, endowing the resulting music with unmatched wit, well, that took comedian Tom Lehrer, who died on July 26th. For the past few years, I have spoken on Rosh Hashanah about seminal Jewish thinkers who had recently passed away, from Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, to my teacher, Harold Kushner, to the Lubavitcher Rabbi. Tom Lehrer, on the other hand, never identified closely with his ancestral Judaism. But the famed satirist and mathematician wrote one of the first popular songs about a Jewish holiday. And I'm choosing to begin these high holidays with a more light-hearted sermon. You can know that because I'm also going to, with the permission of the cantor, going to sing a little. As the coming days will focus on the more serious issues troubling us both at home and abroad. The comedic songwriter and performer Tom Lehrer, and I don't know how many, just by show of hands, who has ever heard of him? Okay. The younger folk probably less so. He passed away at age 97, outliving one of the writers credited with penning the advance obituary that the New York Times had been holding for many years. Lehrer might have also been amused by the people who heard news of his passing and expressed astonishment that he was still alive. He, after all, released his first album in 1953 and retired from live performance in 1967, never to return, although he continued to write and record some new songs in studios just for another decade. Always predict the worst, and you'll be hailed as a prophet, said Lehrer, who was ultimately less of a Moses prophet than a Cassandra. His cautions largely ignored, even while the audience for his comedy grew throughout the Eisenhower years at the dawn of what was supposed to be the American century. While the nation celebrated the rise of the United States as a superpower, defending liberty and democracy across the globe, Lehrer sensed a national lack of moral integrity and foretold disasters large and small, enduring racism, an irresponsible government, a failed education system, and a complacent citizenry. He recorded only about 36 songs, mostly political satire. He wrote tunes about math, science, grammar, and masochism. He was a polymath who could take lofty concepts and make them digestible, and he cut fashionable trends in academia and culture down to size. His compositions stand the test of time, and they appeal to multiple generations, most of whom were born well after him. His songs were clean, but Lehrer didn't make kid music. It was music for adults that kids could appreciate, that would make them feel smart and in the know. I was a big fan of his songs growing up, way before I understood all the words or the nuances of the lyrics. We sang his songs as a family on long cross-country car trips. Once you have Tom Lehrer's songs in your brain, it turns out they're there for life. I'm Spending Hanukkah in Santa Monica was the one memorable late career hit in 1990, at a time when he generally kept a low profile in academia, splitting his time between the University of California at Santa Cruz, where he taught both math and musical theater, and Cambridge, Massachusetts. Garrison Keillor commissioned the new song from Lehrer because Jews had written many popular Christmas songs, but none for their own holidays. There was thus this deplorable lacuna in the repertoire, which this song, a sort of answer to White Christmas, was intended to remedy, Lehrer said on the air. The resulting song, which also mentions spending Shavuos in St. Louis, Rosh Hashanah in Arizona, and you have to say this with a southern accent, Yom Kippur in Mississippi, has grown more popular in recent years. The song was a departure for Lehrer, who grew up in a secular Jewish family. He rarely spoke about his personal life, but in the liner notes to a compendium album he released, he addressed his family's relationship to Judaism. The son of a tie manufacturer, Lehrer was born in 1928 into a comfortable Upper Manhattan life. He attended fine schools, took piano lessons, delighted in Broadway musicals, and worked at a summer camp where one of his charges was the young Stephen Sondheim. His family was Jewish, but the home was secular. His upbringing had more to do with the delicatessen than the synagogue, he recalled. My brother and I did go to Sunday school, but we had Christmas trees, and God was primarily an expletive, usually preceded by oh, or my, or both. After entering Harvard at age 15, his penchant for sardonic humor surfaced in his first parody song entitled Fight Fiercely Harvard, that went something like this. Fight fiercely Harvard, fight, 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 demonstrate to them our skill. Although they may possess the might, nonetheless, we have the will. How shall we celebrate our victory? We shall invite the whole team out for tea. How jolly. Hurl that spheroid down the field and fight, fight, fight. The song earned him a measure of renown on campus, where he studied math before joining the U.S. Army and then returning to Cambridge for a graduate degree. He never got his PhD. His parodies often took aim at divisive political issues and pushed the boundaries of propriety. His first album, which he paid to record in 1953 and sold at his performances, became a cult hit that ultimately propelled him to multiple world tours. His next album, More of Tom Lehrer, appeared in 1959. It included such fixtures as his live repertoire of The Elements, which was a rapid-fire recitation of the periodic table in the manner of his hero Danny Kaye, set to a melody drawn from Gilbert and Sullivan's tune of I'm a Very Model of a Modern Major General from Pirates of Penzance. This was a song I memorized as a teenager by listening to the record over and over and over again, and then performed for my chemistry class. The list of elements concludes with the memorable words, these are the only ones of which the news has come to Harvard. And there may be many others, but they haven't been discovered. Other songs on the album included the Masochism Tango and the black-hearted Ode to Spring, called Poisoning Pigeons in the Park. The album led Time magazine to lump Lehrer with other, quote, sick comedians of the era as Lenny Bruce and Mort Sahl. In 1964 and 1965, he wrote several songs for That Was the Week That Was, a short-lived satirical NBC television series. His new numbers, in which he focused on political and social issues, included a song for World War III, beginning So Long Mom, I'm Off to Drop the Bomb, and Werner von Braun, about the German scientist who designed weapons for the Nazis and later worked for NASA, with the refrain, once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun. After several pauses to focus on his academic pursuits, he stepped off the stage in 1967 following a concert in Copenhagen. His last turn in the spotlight came in 1972 after performing at a presidential campaign rally for Democratic nominee George McGovern. He gave up performing for good. Lehrer explained his retreat from the stage by saying that political satire became obsolete when Henry Kissinger was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In an interview with the New York Times, he elaborated, "The Vietnam War is what changed it. Everybody got earnest. My purpose was to make people laugh and not applaud. If the audience applauds, they're just showing they agree with me." Unlike the late-night hosts trying to satirize our political moment, Lehrer was concerned with making people laugh before he was concerned with making them think, though he ended up doing both. In short, he wrote music that was as fun as it was sharp, which is why his songs have endured 72 years after his first album. In 2020, Lehrer announced through his website that he was making all of the lyrics he wrote available to download for free without further permission, whether or not they were published or retained a copyright. 2 years later, he went further in relinquishing his rights, saying, "In short, I no longer retain any rights to any of my songs, so help yourself and don't send me any money." Reflecting on his bicoastal life in a 1981 interview for Newsday, he said he planned to keep his Massachusetts home, quote, "until my brain turns completely to jello, at which time I will, of course, move to California full-time." His song, National Brotherhood Week, spoke to me long before I came to work at the Brotherhood Synagogue. National Brotherhood Week in February was first established in the 1930s by the National Conference of Christians and Jews as a means of promoting the values of interreligious tolerance and civic interdependence. The week gained federal support from President Franklin Roosevelt during World War II as a means of combating fascist and nativist objections to a vision of democracy built on the foundation of a multicultural civil society. By the time Tom Lehrer lampooned the civic commemoration in 1965, National Brotherhood Week, for many young adults, was seen as a historic relic that had lost the import of any cultural imperative it might once have possessed. Tom Lehrer introduced the song by saying, "I'm sure we all agree that we ought to love one another, and I know there are people in the world who do not love their fellow human beings, and I hate people like that." He then launched into the song, which I will sing for you. Remember, this is parody and comedy. Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. All of my folk to hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, Lena Horne and Sheriff Clark are dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise as long as you don't let them in your school. Or the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all of your folks. It's American as apple pie, but during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, it's national, everyone smile at one anotherhood week. Be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year. As Jews, as New Yorkers, as members of the Brotherhood Synagogue, we are challenged to live up to the ideal of brotherhood 52 weeks a year. It's not enough to love humanity in general. We have to care for all people in particular. And we have to be willing to be thought of as naive fools for holding to such a view in this world in which we live. We have to be like the woman who was brought before a revolutionary tribunal and spoke about brotherhood, peace, the rule of law, and justice. The judge looked at her intently and said, "But we don't live in this kind of world," to which the woman replied, "But I do." I feel very strongly that if anything has been proven by the past year, it is that the civic values undergirding our democratic civil society required continued, enduring promotion. If Tom Lehrer showed us anything through his jaunty takedown, it is that such civic values need to register as genuine and authentic if they are not to be watered down to the point of irrelevance. Toward the end of his life, Lehrer no longer had the stomach to poke fun at impending disaster. "Things I once thought were funny are scary now," he fretted. And then he added, "I often feel like a resident of Pompeii who has been asked for some humorous comments on lava." As we go into this new year, with the many troubles at home, in Israel, and throughout the world, I wish for all of us a Shana Tova Tikatevu, that may we all be inscribed for a good year to come. Amen. We're going to rise now for